So this is your workbench, sort of office back here.
Yeah, the spot allocated before I came to work here for rigging parts. I had this little bench that the owner had set up. So when I took over, he basically gave my little area. It's not near large enough for what I'd like to do. One of these days, probably to get a different room where I can have more inventory. That's the Morris 36. Bergman Stevens actually did some of the design work for this. So it looks very traditional. Normally what you'd have under there is a full keel with a Skakon rudder, with that wine glass underbody that they like to sail on their ear. So what you've got under here is almost nothing below the waterline, very low, a high aspect ratio fin, and a high aspect ratio rudder. So its underbody is the more modern canoe style with the fin, so very low wetted surface, much more form stability, and of course cord hull and everything makes it much lighter, so it's much more nimble for just sailing off the mooring and sailing around in light air. And Maine and New England in the summer typically are light air. By cording the hull, you can shed a lot of that weight. You don't have all the bulk. You only need 5 knots of wind, and you're clipping along. You can step on pedals to trim the main sheet.
Really?
Yeah, with your feet.
Oh my God! I've never heard of that.
Self-tacking jib. You've got a wheel with a pedestal, right?
Yep.
And a cockpit table drop leaf, so that leaves are dropped down when you're sailing. There's a beautiful stainless steel swiveling block and a single piece of Dyneema line shackled to one point on the boom. This line disappears into this block, and inside the cockpit floor and in parts of this drop leaf table is a captive line winch. So there's no tail. So looking at the floor, you got a wheel. This is awesome, right?
Yeah.
So here's your cockpit floor. You're standing here. Here's your guy holding up the steering. Hey, how you doing? There are 3 switches. One eases the main out, and the other 2 trim it in slow or trim it in fast. I was sailing it barefoot. My big toe, you just get a little shift in the wind. Zzz, zzz. These systems are extremely expensive.
Oh my God.
The Hinckley DS42's base price is like $750,000. If you get all the options like the one that I sailed, it's about $1 million for a boat that's not even designed to sleep overnight on. An example of a captive reel winch for those sailors who are unfamiliar with such technology.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Oh yeah. So this is all hidden below decks. So as it trims in, and they can either be electric or hydraulic, it winds the tail up, stores it on this drum, and pays it back out again. So you don't have a loose tail.
Yeah.
It's all controlled, runs it in and out. It can be used for Genoas, travelers. This one winds the line up around and uses a ram. So as the ram extends, it's basically pulling the line in and letting it back out, and keeps it controlled.
Wow.
And they're used on boats like this, so that's why you see, like, where's all the running rigging? It's all so clean.
Yeah.
That's how you do that. These are all hydraulic, so you have to have a hydraulic system. So that's just one piece of it. You have to then have a whole hydraulic ram with valve controls that conduct hydraulic fluid to these different systems. And then you have to have the DC electrical power to power it all. So big deal on a day sailor, you're plugging it in at the dock every night.
Yep.
So they got big battery bank. And the only reason you go forward is to hand somebody a dock line or maybe throw a lunch hook over. So they don't even have lifelines. So it gives them this incredibly clean look. Wow. All these lines running, internally or under the deck. You don't have the typical sailboat clutter. They're all designed so one guy at the helm can control the whole boat. Imagine just day sailing solo a 50-foot boat.
Nirvana.
But it requires all these power systems to make that happen. And so you go to the boat shows, and this is where all the crowds are standing around. Everybody oohs and ahs and wishes they could have one, but I've got a wife and 2 kids, and I need more interior. So everyone wishes they could have that, but no, in reality. And this is the American versions, so they look like the classic. Then you got my real favorites, which are the ones coming out of Europe. They've thrown tradition to the wind. The Brenta 38 and the 30, and they make several Brentas. The Sensei 9M. They look like you went to Ferrari and said, design a sailboat, and they go, well, we don't know anything about sailboats. So they just start with their own design, and wow. Oh, awesome.